What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. We talk about everything related to male enhancement, male development, physical development, mental development, and today we are talking more about the metaphysical side of things. Why? Because if you're a human being, then you probably have a soul. And I'm your host, CJ Rodriguez, fat loss coach, trainer. It's what I love to do. Help people build muscle and get into the best physical shape of their lives. That is what I love to do. And today I'm going to talk about something that's been discussed. People talk about holistic health, and I have absolutely no idea what that really means, what that really entails. Why? Because a lot of people think it's kind of weird to look into the spiritual side of things. I, however, think that if you are a human being with a soul, you should probably look into, what's best as far as the spiritual practice kind of goes, right? And I'm not talking necessarily about religion. I'm just talking about your religion. Who are you as a human being? And the beauty of today's podcast is that I had somebody who is very well versed in this regard. None other than Aundrea Sides. And she came in and she broke down so many different aspects of the metaphysical, the importance of having about how healing kind of works, right? And I got all the links, as you guys already know, in the description, right? So you guys can definitely check out more about her there, and I found that this was, again, this is a captivating subject for me because the older I get, the more I realize I can't really rely on the things that I used to, or, the older I get, I also realize how much stupider I was when I was younger. Therefore, leading me to explore different sides of myself that I didn't really know before, right? And the older you get, the more you start to discover these things as you mature. You also start to discover that these are aspects of who we are as human beings that need to be discussed. And I do feel as though a lot more people are waking up and a lot of guys aren't really seeing it so much as like, oh, I thought it was just for crazy ladies with cats. Now it's more like, wait a minute, this makes sense. Meditation makes sense. Taking a step back and going within makes sense. And that's why I found it so wonderful to step into this extraordinary world with Aundrea Sides. She's a luminary figure in the realm of psychic mastery, man. And from a young age, Aundrea discovered her innate connection to the universe's own energy that envelop our existence, right? And her journey of self-discovery led her to embrace a formidable array of psychic gifts, earning her a reputation as a true oracle of the unseen, right? And again, the website is in the description. And if you do want to get in touch, just be sure to click the link there and you can get and start working with Aundrea to really discover this side of yourselves. Because I do feel, like I said before, it's something that as you age, you do start to pay attention to more, right? You start asking yourself bigger questions, and I think it's something spectacular. And I was just really, really happy that we were able to talk to Aundrea on this show, right? So again, I had a blast, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this. We talk about vitality, the metaphysical, spiritualism, so many different things, and about emotional intelligence as well, right? And again, I just had an absolute blast, and I really think that you guys will enjoy this episode. And again, I hope that you guys can just take a whole lot away from it. Without any further ado, let's jump on into today's episode with Aundrea Sides. Be sure to click any of the links in the description. And again, if you guys want to lose fat, get in shape, get rid of that jiggle before the summer, then be sure to click one of the links and get in touch with me. If you guys don't know anything about fitness, but you do want to get started and you're not ready maybe to commit to coaching, that's okay. If you just want to commit to like, hey, you know what, I just want a discovery call just so you can help me kind of figure this out, then be sure to send me a DM at cjrodfits or at masculinehealthsolutions.pe. Got a lot of DMs there, trying to answer all of them. But again, if you do want to kind of get started in your fitness journey, you want to discover more, then be sure to get at me at any one of those Instagram means, or you could just click one of the links in the description. Got a couple there for you guys to reach out. All right, without any further ado, let's jump on into today's episode with Aundrea Sides. Are you done with having a muffin top? Are you just done with the extra love handles, that big old gut, the fact that you can't close your pants the way you used to because, hey, there's a little bit too much fat in the middle? If you're absolutely done with it and you're ready to actually start taking your fitness and fat loss into the direction that you actually want, well, then let's start training, man. Let me coach you in a way where it's integrated into your lifestyle. This way, you can burn the fat off of your body without having to suffer the same way that you would for some extreme, like a bodybuilding show, unless that's something that you want help with. And yes, I got a couple clients doing that right now. If that is something you want, obviously we can do it. But if you're just interested in getting rid of those 40 pounds and saying, yo, CJ, man, I am just done with this extra jiggle, help me. Well, I'm the dude for the job, right? Help people along the way. You can check out the Instagram for more verification on this at CJ Rods Fit. You can send me a DM there too if you just want to set up a discovery call. And that way I can just help align you with your goals and just kind of point you in the right direction. If you are ready to take it to the next level and you do want to sign up, then you can also book with the description in the podcast notes. However, the one thing I will say, unless you're 100% committed, don't set it up yet. Don't set it up. Maybe just do a discovery call and get the ball rolling. However, if you are 100% committed and you are ready to invest your time, your money, and your energy into this endeavor, then let's get started, right? But make sure you're 100% committed and make sure that you're 100% ready to get started. If you're not, then, maybe do your research and do all that good stuff. However, for any of you guys that may just have absolutely no idea how to get started, let's just set up the discovery call so that way we can start the ball rolling for you into the right direction, 100% free. And for all you guys that are ready to take that plunge and take your fitness to the next level, then let's get ready and let's sign on up, man. All right, let's jump on in. Before we get started, one more thing. If you want to get any PE gear, be sure to check out totalmanshop.com. That is totalmanshop.com. And use the promo code MHS2020. Promo code is MHS2020 and get 12% off. Be sure to check out their wide variety of all kinds of good quality PE equipment. All right? And that's promo code MHS2020 for 12% off. And the website, once again, is totalmanshop.com. One. What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. We talk a little bit about everything, but today we're going more for that holistic side of things and talking more about the spiritual side, which is something that, it's interesting because a lot of men are waking up to this. And I am one of those guys, in the past like 3-4 years during COVID, I started looking into all this stuff. And it kind of tied into a whole bunch of other things that I've been researching and everything kind of fell in line. So today we are blessed in having Aundrea Sides joining us all the way from Mauritius, surviving a cyclone, all kinds of other madness. But first, how are you doing today, Aundrea?
I'm doing awesome, CJ. Thanks for having me on. We're going to have fun.
Yeah, truly blessed. And it's kind of, the conversation we're already having, I was like, oh no, I gotta stop this now. We got to get this onto the podcast. But I want to go back to how you started this journey, because this journey is something that I'm like, I don't believe in chance so much. I think things are kind of destined to happen sometimes. And I think that this might have been your calling. But can you tell us a little bit more about your journey and what got you started down this road?
Yeah, thanks, CJ. So I've been doing it about 30 years, and we were talking a little bit before. And what happened is there's only so much of me to go around, and that's wonderful for me to say nowadays because yeah, I couldn't say that was always the case. When we're going through our journey, there's a lot of bumps in the road. There's a lot of insecurities. There's a lot of codependencies. There's a lot of victimhood. There's a lot of self-righteousness. There's a lot of different things that we have that, especially when we're sensitive or when we are sensitive within our bodies. So ever since I was little, loved people. I loved them, loved people. I just thought, and I was just a love bug, and I thought everybody was the same. Right? I just thought people were the same. But I wanted, when I saw people in pain, I wanted to cheer them up. I wanted to make them happy. I wanted them to feel light. I wanted them to feel love the way that I did. And every time I tell the story, I can remember further and further back, and so during that time, what happens is you're really solid, and when you're a child, you're so creative and your imagination is so full, and you love life. Maybe not all all children, but for the most part, even when they have hard lives, they always come back to, their centeredness, their happiness, their childlikeness, right?
Yeah.
And then, through all of that, and I was always very empathic, and I think that we should define that as just that you were able to, I was able to feel other people's feelings. I didn't necessarily, and I, go by what people said. I went by the way I felt around them. And what happened is that I could feel people, and then somewhere along the line, I didn't know what was theirs and what was mine anymore.
Interesting.
And I would take things so personal, like somebody would get mad. Is it me? Is it something wrong with me? Or is there something going on with me? Or there had a bad situation or whatever. And then, so I've gone through a whole slew of things of, overcoming a very early age, like when I was in probably my late teens and 20s, codependency, victimhood, even being predator, like going out, and I was real when I was in my 20s, I was hot. Like I was really, really cute. And, and I would go look for places and, to be, to upgrade my self-worth instead of going inside. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so so what happened is I was transmuting everybody's stuff all the time, and really took it personally, like, was something wrong with me? What was going on? Why was I feeling all these emotions? I never picked any of this and this and this and that up. How did I attract these different things in my life? And then it just became too much. It just became too much. And I started meeting it's so interesting. I started meeting teachers all along all along the way, because I was one of those kids that was, in school, I always acted out. I was always like, I couldn't sit still in my chair. I wanted to learn, how things really worked, not just repeat,
Mm-hmm.
history and regurgitate everything that was already existing. I had this huge creative world inside. And I remember when I was in third grade, I had this really cool third grade teacher. She was really strict, but she could not keep me in my chair. And so she started saying, okay, Aundrea, I'm going to teach you something, and then I want you to act it out in front of the class and bring people up and make a play. And so she, for a test time or whatever, she would have me like put a play together with everybody and what I had learned and everything. And then when she could not get me to sit still, she would have me go behind her and give her massages on her neck and back. I know we probably get in big trouble nowadays for that, right? Yeah. And I would see her melt and almost like fall asleep. And she said, you fixed my back, you fixed my neck. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. And so this was part of how I, passed her class. So teachers were always looking for different ways, because you can't really kick a kid out of school for being themselves. I mean, you can for, a third grade, but
Mm-hmm.
so anyways, so as I started getting older, and I would tell, I was very physically fit. At 13 years old, I was a junior lifeguard. I did a lot of sports. I was a national swimmer. I probably would have made the Olympics if I kept on going, but I got into boys, and I started experimenting with drugs, and I started drinking at a very early age. But I was still physical fit, so I really just pushed the boundaries of everything at 13 years old. My parents couldn't keep me in the house. I was always running. I was always sneaking out my window. My parents didn't know what to do with me at 13, so they threw me in a rehab. And and I didn't even know too much about drugs, but I'll tell you, I learned a lot when I was in there. Right? But they just didn't know what to do with this person that was so vibrant and had so much energy and so many ideas. And I don't blame them for any of that. It was just part of my path. So as I was going forward, I learned a lot about psychology. I saw probably a lot of psychologists. They try to diagnose me with a lot of different things when I was younger. ADHD. They're just trying to get me into as many physical sports and things like that to keep my energy level levels down. And anytime that I went to one of these places or I was introduced to AA or any of these other places, I would always end up being the counselor, or I'd always end up being the person that everybody went to for advice. And it really helped, right? And so as you can notice, if you don't have good boundaries and you don't know where you begin and where somebody else, you pick up a lot of stuff, right? And you learn a lot about people very, very fast. And I used to have such a strong body, but my body started to break down and I didn't want to start doing physical things anymore. I didn't want to do those things because I was housing all of my emotions plus other people's emotions at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was really tough. So and then all of a sudden, so I started meeting these leaders all over the world. And what I mean leaders, I started meeting these incredible indigenous shamans, curanderos, healer, like the real deal. And this was like probably about 30 years back when I started. And I studied with people from Greenland. I studied from people from the Navajo Nation, from the Shuar tribe, from the Shipibo. I even lived in the jungle for periods of spurts and times, all alone in isolation before ayahuasca and all these other things were popular. That wasn't even what it was called. But the tribe that I did, they didn't even call it that. And then another tribe I work with, which was the Shipibo, I learned to be able to master certain things. And I wasn't like, I could go into ceremonies and I could do things without taking any plants whatsoever. So I had gone very far, very quick. So anyway, so what happened is like, okay, now I'm learning boundaries. I'm learning where I begin. I learn where other people end. I learned how to work with energy. I learned how to focus that energy. I learned to be able to focus that energy mentally so that when it only takes you, like it might take you 4 years to learn something, you can condense it into a month. When I like physically fitness, I can teach people, and I've taught other physical trainers. And when I go into like the gym, or if I decide to do that, like right now, I'm enjoying the water and doing all of that. But if I do, like, I can look at weights for like a month and I can have the growth and all that other stuff that most people get in 3 to 6 to 9 months, depending on whatever, and the strength. Even as I get older, I'm in my mid 40s now. And now I get to teach my children all of these different things too. So spirituality, this is what I want to say. Spirituality is so important for people. And what I mean by spirituality is, I'm going to define it by unconditional love first, is where we really learn. We don't just say we love ourselves and then we do it through motivation, physical fitness, and mental, conditioning and all that other stuff. That's kind of backwards, right? But when you're able to feel what you feel and have compassion, so through unconditional love, you have compassion for other people. You create an empathy so that you're not judging. You hold neutral space. You can get to that 0 point energy very, very quickly, right? You can help people with their life ailments, from anything from mental, spiritual, physical, anything. So that's just like a brief synopsis. But the spiritual, so it comes to unconditional love. It comes with truth, learning who you are and getting all those layers out so that you can get to who you are for real, genuinely. A lot of people call it authentically now, right? Like to live your authentic self. Well, usually when you're living your authentic self, you're living your real life. You don't have to even say that, because people can feel it. They can sense it. They know it. You're when you're truly in truth, you can demystify the most metaphysical and untangible, esoteric kind of things, and you can make it make sense to someone and to yourself, which is really important for connection, right? So we have unconditional love, then we have the truth, and then we have clarity. So when we have when we have those three things, and then when we have those things, so when we're at the gym, okay, so, and you know what I'm talking about. You're a fit guy, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you're a fit guy, and you know the difference, and been in the gym, like, powerhousing it out. Yes, just and you got the man stuff. So you bring in the masculine, but we all have this masculine and also this feminine, divine feminine in us too. And that's where the intuitive abilities, that's where the spirituality, that's where the high priestess is, whatever you want to call it. That's a little bit weird for most people, but people get the goddess, right? The chi energy too. That's more masculine too, but there's also a divine feminine that is very I don't know how to say it.
Interwoven,
It's
I
very
guess.
yes, yes. It's a very elated. So when you're so a man, you a woman, but you also have this like within you. So when you develop your intuitive abilities of just knowing and this clarity and this unconditional love, this part of our life, you go in the gym. So instead of, oh, okay, so that's great when you need to, but when you're focused because you're in your solar plexus, you're aligned with the stars, you are aligned with the stars and the magnetic force of the earth. We'll just say, okay, just as an example, fun, right? We're just going to
Yeah.
go on a creative little tangent here. But you imagine, because when you imagine you're growing your muscle and doing all that, that's from your mind, right? But imagine when you're going into your soul, when you're going into that clarity, that unconditional love, and you're feeling your emotion, and then you're feeling the divine within, and then it connects with the mind, and then you're doing your bicep and you're doing and you're focused and you say grow baby grow, and and then everything you can feel everything, the way it goes down the body, how it connects with the shoulder and the back and then the
Hmm.
spine. And we call it yoga and but it's people call it mindfulness, but that's the second thing. That's like the second or third thing from the mindfulness. When you're intuitive and you know what your body needs, you don't go necessarily, like you might have a schedule, but you might go into the gym or you might go into somewhere and say, you know what, my body's really needing this to balance it out today,
Hmm.
or I need to stretch this way. And you start making your own regimen, your own thing. And you can look at a client or whatever, look at them, and it doesn't have to be anything that comes out of a book. It doesn't even have to come out of your own experience. It's a knowing that you can see in the other person by being able to feel, sense, and see their field, and then how that they can emotionally connect to that, be able to get them aligned by doing some visualizations too, be able to get them inspired so that they actually want to do something, not motivation, because we all know motivation works for
Short
it's not
period of
fun.
time.
You want to,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to feel like, okay, this is how I'm feeling in my body. Okay, so I have a tight back. So you start engaging with the back, and then you feel, or you might feel a trauma come up from when you were, I don't know, 4 years old. Okay, what happened at 4 years old? Where am I holding this trauma in my back? I'm just giving you an example of what I do.
Hmm.
So trauma in the back. Okay, 4 years old. What's the emotion there? Okay, the emotion is that I'm not good enough. I don't want to be looked at like this. I can't do this right now. I can't get to where I'm going and be in the state of mind where I am right now because I don't feel good enough. I don't feel big enough. I don't feel like I'm strong enough. Okay, so let's go ahead for, where did you get that? I got that definitely from my mom. All right, you got it from your mom. So at 4 years old, let's go ahead and go into the energy of not feeling good enough, not being, maybe even being seen, um, you know, um, never being able to set a goal for yourself when you are starting something one brick at a time and then finishing it
Hmm.
because it's too scary or whatever. It's deep, right? It's not just, okay, let's put our motivation, our mind behind it. Let's not, okay, so I felt that, I saw that, I got that from mom, and here we go, and I hold it in my back. Okay, I want to clear and transmute that through all time, dimensions, spaces, and realities. I'm clearing it. I'm transmuting it. Ooh, so you feel your body moving, you feel a release emotionally, and you've just cleared it with your mind and your intent. So just as an example, so this is one thing that just came up here, like right here we are, okay? So right here. And then what that does is whatever that person I'm working with or whatever that I'm doing on my modules with Vitality Unleashed, we'll talk about that live. I have these modules that go through the spirituality, they go through self-love, they go through the clarity, they go through, the health. We hit on all of them, but I like to get people into that clarity and self-love first, and then into the spirituality, so that they can find and form a base of their inner truth so that they can do this kind of work, right?
Wow.
And so now you've just pulled that root up in that experience, CJ. And then so what happens is that it frees, and then it frees the back, and then all of a sudden, wow, I feel strong. Oh my God, I'm feeling chills in my body. holy moly, my personal trainer told me this could take 3 months to get strong. And oh my God. And now they're clocking 3 weeks. Boom. Check this out. Whoa. Like they're feeling good. The momentum's happening. The inspiration's happening. So then they want to go through some other stuff that is clearing, and it gives them the momentum and it gives them the want to go deeper in,
Hmm.
because they realize of where they feel heavy, where they hold this in the mind. And I give people tools to actually be able to get to the root of that, so that they can go forward, and that they can go beyond the capacity of what the other person or the next person or whatever they did before. Really
Yeah.
important.
No, I mean, I
Yeah.
find that super fascinating because I mean, this is like all the stuff that I like because I got into generational trauma and how you have to break that, and it's all kind of aligned with like mindset and stuff, and how the subconscious programming kind of works. And I'm like, wait a minute, for a while they're like, this is woo woo, this is crazy, right? But then I'm like, wait a minute, no, it's not. Like it starts to make sense and it starts to fall in place. And one of the things that you described there is the trauma that we felt, right? And it's interesting too because I find that you study certain people, and for example, I'll use my son. Like he when he was born, he had a pulmonary malformation, right? So he had to get surgery when he was like 4 months old, right? And it's pretty bad. But even now, we kind of like, because me and my wife are big into this, right? And we're like the body storage trauma, and we find that he's always kind of like shifting and holding his left side, and he's kind of like, so we're always trying to like, do some body work, just kind of release it, just kind of like, hey, you can let go of that energy. But it's mind blowing to me how these things work in tandem, and for some reason we just kind of pretend like it doesn't exist. And I mean, for myself, the more work I do, the more I discover I'm like, okay, there's a lot of releasing I got to do. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of inner child work and stuff. And I mean, this is truly what fascinates me. And that's kind of one thing that I did want to go over with you is like, how do you let go of experiences? Like how do you let go of like childhood trauma, stuff that you suffered? How do you go about doing that? Was it the same kind of description that you gave earlier, where it's kind of like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
releasing all of it, or?
Yeah, sure. So that was just one of them. So each person is a little bit different. It really is. So usually somebody will give a specific memory all of a sudden, and then we'll go back and then we'll look, and then I'll actually start getting visuals. I'll get visuals in my mind that represent a certain thing, and then I'll ask my client like, "What does this mean?" Or do you remember this? Or and oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. And when I say that we really pull it from the root, we go back to the source, because it's like pulling in how roots have all those different, layer. They've got to the tree, got the here, here,
Mhm.
here, here. So you pull that all the way up, and then snip it off. And maybe we don't want to do that to a tree, but it's just for metaphorically be able to see. And
Yeah.
maybe it grows another root, because okay. We'll say the earth is, doesn't have any more soil. It doesn't have any more nutrients in that area. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's better to cut it off, and so that it can have its life force energy, and it can grow something new. All right, so we'll go with that. So it's a full metaphor without anything hanging out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so so we really really do that. And what happens is once you are so what happens is when you bring awareness, clarity to that, people think that they have to go back to every single thing. So that pattern or that block that's within the body starts there. Or it might have started in a past life, an ancestral trauma, whatever that is. And
Mhm.
you can go back to that event if you have a really good person, or that you are learning how to do this inside of yourself, so you can do it yourself. But you have to, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, about like knowing the different emotions and things like that. You have to be more masterful and pay attention to what you're actually feeling, and write those things down so that you can decipher. Most people don't have a very strong emotional register. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
they have to elevate or be aware. But really, what it is just bringing, first of all, acknowledging whatever it is. And like when we're laying in bed, instead of, a lot of people do other things, like they watch TV, or they're, running around 10 different places, and then they fall asleep or whatever, like super fast. And what my spirit has told me is, just with general people, even if they did 10% of the inner work of this awareness of where they felt things in the body, and they started asking themselves the question instead of looking for the book, instead of asking that other person. Is what I do, I lead them back to themselves. So where did you get this? What emotion was this? What are you feeling right now? Just give me an age. This is
Hmm.
just because you asked about childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And I will see that person when they are that old, and I will see them as like they're standing in front of me, because that experience is really real. And a lot of times we drop little pieces of ourselves off in those areas too, that want to survive, or that that they wanted to protect us, or they're just acting out, right? They're just acting out, and a lot of times adults are just big kids trying to make things work because they weren't taught that it was okay and safe to feel their emotions, and have a container or space to get angry. A lot of times people get angry and then they're just pushed back to depression, and they
Yeah.
need to get angry and then be able to feel a little bit of hopefulness before they go. So anyway, so we're going to go back. So you're able to, and even if you think, okay, I was 8 and I remember dad doing this. Okay, so how did you feel right there? Boom. And where are you feeling that in your body right now? And there always is. There's always a place in your body. Okay. And then you might get a glimpse of like your own face at 8 years old. You might, you get different memories or whatever. Okay, acknowledge that 8-year-old. Who did it come from? What's the energy? What's the emotion? Where is it in my body? What color is it? Okay, I see you fully. Now I want to clear it. I want to transmute it through all time, dimensions, spaces, and realities. And boom, boom, boom. And then you can say, okay, inner child, would you like to integrate, or would you like to go to the light? Because so there's a meditation that's before this that you really should connect,
Hmm.
with your inner light first, or your essence, which we'll talk about in just a minute too. And you clear and transmute that, and then you breathe into it. You do breath exercises, of course, which is breath is what spirit and body. That's how we connect with our spirit and body and our emotions and where things are in the body. Like it's the best thing in the world, right? And then we ask for a new upgrade. We ask for a positive emotion. Oh, hold on just a second. Sorry.
It's
Hold
okay.
on. Okay, cool. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're being able to clear, being able to transmute, and being aware of the body. Now, what happens as you're doing that, you feel different now.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, where you used to react over here, or you used to feel like a victim over here, or something has changed. Something with the way that you react, or that you feel, you're not reactive to a spouse or a girlfriend, or a person, whatever it is. There's something that really has changed, and people are like, it can't be like that, it can't be that easy. Well, why can't it? It's really not that easy, because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
Hmm.
So to bring all that, sometimes it needs is that awareness, and our inner child needs to know that, like it needs to do that, and we just did the work for ourselves, and it is enough. And it's enough when we connect in that meditation with our inner, what we call like an inner light. Like I tell people, they don't have to go through a huge meditation or anything, but just being able to your spiritual essence of your solar plex and your heart, and expanding that around your body, and connecting to the energy, which is your vitality, and connecting it up. So everybody has a star, whether people think it or not. I happen to know that everybody has their own star, and that we come from the stars. There's so much other, and the power of the star. Look what the sun does. Look what it gives, and it never asks back. Look at what all the life that it creates. How could that not? How could that not It nourishes us, it feeds us, and the earth. So connecting with the stars, connecting with, with the universal knowledge that is within, not out. We're not going out. So we're going within, going up. And then we're connecting to the magnetic field of the earth, which brings us what people call grounded. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
meant to be anchored anyways, anywhere, by the way, period.
Interesting.
That's not grounded is being connected to the physical plane, right? Being
Yeah.
connected to the physical body, bringing all of this all together. So you've made a meditation, you've just expanded your light all the way out. And this goes into the shadows and also allows us to be able to get to the neutral point and the 0 point. So we're able to see the shadows, and we're also be able to illuminate. So when you go into a meditation, you're asking to illuminate your heart so that you can break the walls down, that you can feel more your inner self. And because when we really break wall, or when we build walls, those walls, we don't realize that those walls are actually walls that we can't feel ourselves. It's not about
Interesting.
letting everybody else in and
Yeah.
being afraid. We do that to ourselves. If you build a wall, that's for yourself. It's not, you're not contained because you've built a wall, and you're not in your, like, what people call boundaries. Because if you're illuminated, so you'll notice that a lot of people, even people that are physically fit, they'll walk around with their watching people or thinking things or whatever. And I always tell people, walk around, connect to the light on the hour, every hour, or connect to your essence on purpose every single day. Put the shoulders back, open your solar plexus, and just show up in front of everybody. It is amazing the people that you'll connect with, the other people that look at you like, who is that person? You have just magnetized yourself because you've opened your way up. And then you start feeling those uncomfortable parts. And then you just ask yourself, can we open this up a little bit? Can we, what's going on here? What could I clear here? Okay, so if you don't know, then you just keep on bringing light into your body, and you connect with the earth. The earth provides us everything. It provides our food, it provides other people, it provides our housing. Why wouldn't we ask for the energy and the clarity and for us to help us? The essence, the magnet, it's part of who we are, whether people
Yeah.
think we're aliens or not. Okay, it's part of who we are, right?
Yeah.
you know so why wouldn't we want to ask these questions? So it's asking the question we're asking ourselves versus outside all the time. We have
Yeah.
been trained to look for the answers without, and that people, CJ, find that people like me are nuts is nuts to me, because
Yeah.
I'm thinking you just went to a university for 24 years. No, I'm just kidding. To
Yeah.
regurgitate everything that has already existed. When if you use that same amount of time, could you imagine going inwards for 8 hours a day and writing and creating worlds and collaborating could you imagine what kind of world we would live in?
Probably a little bit different, I think.
You think? We would. And you know what else is, this is why we have all these sustainability problems. This is why because of the earth, why we overuse everything, and why materialism. And it's a very simple answer. It's because we're looking for that outside, and regurgitating what already exists versus connecting with our vitality, connecting with our life force, bringing that forward and sharing our essence with the earth, the universal wisdom, saying, hello, I love you, I respect you, earth, thank you. And you're
Hmm.
giving back to something. Then we have sustainability, we have clean rivers, we have nice oceans, we connect, and we naturally, it's not woo-woo to connect with all the things that are around us.
No.
It's woo-woo and weird not to.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, too, that I always found interesting, it's kind of like they'd always refer to cultures that were always into this as primitive, and they were backwards. They didn't know what they were talking about. They're a bunch of crazy people. Meanwhile, it's kind of like you look back in retrospect and you're like, these people had it right. And for some reason, we decided as a collective in this modern society that, you know what, like that doesn't fly. And it's ironic now because I think we're starting to see a shift. I think we're starting to see a
We
lot of
are.
people open up to it because I'm in my 30s, right? Maybe 5 years ago, like I've always been into conspiracies and all that myself, and alternative health. Like I've always been into it. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've always been into it, right? But as of late, it's like I've just been diving really deep into like, okay, there's more going on here. There's a lot more to it. And when it comes to like the spiritual side of things, I'm like, there's a lot more in the metaphysical that I think that we are just not exploring and leaving on the table. And you look at the technology that they had and a lot of these things that, were just common day-to-day things in these other cultures. They didn't view it as woo-woo. It was just part of the culture. And for some reason, we became so far removed from that. And to your point, it's kind of like we became tethered, I think, to the physical realm. And I think that's kind of like what's leading to our destruction or our rebirth. That's the way I kind of like to
Yes,
look
I
at it.
love that. I love that so much. Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm not dodging even for a second. And I hope that anybody listening doesn't, gets this, but I'm not dodging that the 3D world.
Mhm.
Our physical body and what I was just explaining, how you work out or whatever, that this is the dream of the soul, of the spirit,
Mhm.
is to have all of that flowing. And then you can have all the stuff on the out. The flow that happens. I'm in this beautiful place, Mauritius. There's wind foiling here. There's snorkeling. There's scuba diving. There's all these. You better believe I'm enjoying all the 3D and the nature and the people here and the people, and do they have a lot of technology? No. Do they have some? Yeah. But I'm not saying even technology is bad. Our approach to technology and the way that it consumes us and takes our life force and uses us as suction, like uses us as energy is what is the problem. I mean, look at people. They
Mhm.
rather interact with the screen on the TV for 4 to 6 hours than
Yeah.
having meaningful, fun, good relationships with other people, or rest or to take care or ask these questions in our body, which is where all our power is. One
Mhm.
person that is connected to the stream and the flow of who they are is way, way more powerful than thousands, if not millions, that are not. It is the truth. It's the truth. And then you know what happens, CJ, when you get really good at this? You know what's really cool?
What?
You start emitting your own frequency.
Ooh, that's
You start
interesting.
emitting your own frequency. So for me, it's love. So everywhere that I go, I change people's. I can walk into a room or I can walk into a mall and I can see people staring off into the ethers, and I can see parts of their soul come back to them. I can go into places that seem like very rundown and icky, and I can see, because I'm very clairvoyant, I can see in different realms. I can see the lost souls that have been there, and I ask them to be transmuted to the 0 point energy or to the light, and I see it happen. And then that place feels. That's all that people do when they go into haunted. If they're really good, if they go into haunted houses or poltergeist, things like that, it's like they wipe the slate clean. And I wanted to go back to what you said, savage energy. If you look it up in the dictionary, there's a couple different things. So savages is what we call a lot of the indigenous and the people that, were, which is
Mhm.
total BS. But savage, what it really means is where you're not able to control your emotions and you go into the negative side and you can't control and you become savage because you have no control. You have no emotional mastery. Now, do we think that those indigenous people had emotional mastery and were connected, or do we think we're more savage now?
Probably more savage now with the wars and all kinds of stupidity that we see. I'd say now.
Oh yeah. And just somebody that gets under our skin, like
Yeah,
people don't know how to
exactly. Deal with it.
go into love, have some compassion, be in your shoes, can be in their side and their shoes too, and master, elevate your emotions
Mhm.
so that you can not take control of the situation in a bad way. You elevate the situation so that everybody wins. Nobody has to lose. There's no competition.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think it makes perfect sense. And I think that it's I don't know, it's such a complex subject, but I find that it's one that needs to be talked about more just because it's almost like we're just starting to peel back the layers at the stuff that already existed and was once common. But I love it because now we're opening up the floor to everybody. I mean, I don't know, like this
Yes.
conversation, I don't know if I'd have it, like 5, 6 years ago, because it'd just be like, no, man, it's not what I'm about. I'm about working out and just getting huge. Now, I know there's a spiritual side, but not
Yeah.
like that. It's just all religious, and it's kind of letting
Yeah.
go of those old beliefs, which is actually one of the concepts that I did have written down here was how do we let go of beliefs that we created over time or that were indoctrinated into our belief system? how do we go about changing that? Because I find that whether it's like a blockage or it's just something that you were told as a kid, therefore it becomes true. And let's say it's not. Over time, you started realizing, you started to do away with it. But it's almost like that battle of the conscious versus the subconscious mind that even I struggle with sometimes. Like,
Yes.
it's almost like, I don't know. I find that they're like fighting internally, I guess.
Yes, I love it. So when you, okay, so I'm going to go deep and then we'll go a little bit general. We'll go more general, okay?
Okay.
So there's five major things, and this is actually on Vitality Unleashed.live too, the modules. So there's five things to transmute with people so they can get into inner clarity. And these are the things that keep us exactly what you're talking about. There's the inner critic with self-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
That keeps us away from ourselves and keeps us distracted from the inside and more on the outside. Let me tell you something. If you love everything outside of yourself and you're missing your inside, you're missing something here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're missing something here. So this is where you're being disloyal to self or self infidelity.
Interesting.
All right. Savage, we talked about it already. Not being able to control negative emotions and temper is another one. So you're always looking at this is regurgitated self-righteousness. I'm better than you, you're bigger than me, or whatever. What that would be actually self-righteousness is like we've mastered something, so we're masterful, so we've got to be better instead of seeing what is wonderful in somebody else and inspiring them because you have the tools to be able to help them with your mastery, whatever it is, because you can decipher what you're good at, what they're good at, and then we can come together to make something even more enjoyable for everybody. Okay, and then the last one is the victim consciousness. So I actually, through the modules, I have meditations that I take people through and to clear most of the stuff from when they were young. Those things as we're growing up when we're young and when we're teenagers and as we go into our 20s, these are things that are regurgitated and that they keep us from being able to see our clarity. So when you use your intuition guided by universal knowledge, intuition connected to the universal knowledge, how everything was created. Why can't we do that? We were created from it. Why can't we do it? And then you also add creativity to it. You remember who you are without any doubts. I'll say that again. When you are guided by your inner knowledge, your intuition, and your universal wisdom with creativity, you remember who you are without any doubts, even if people doubt you. That's what when people finally, this is what happens too, is the world, this is the siphon, this is the negative, this is the lower frequencies that we're not lower frequencies, I don't want to say, because that's not exactly right. These are they suck your energy versus give you vitality, the ones that we just
Gotcha.
talked about. Okay, so if we're not creating vitality in our life, we're giving our life force away. That's where dis-ease comes in. That's when different things is because that we have forfeited our power to something outside of us rather than collaboration, inner knowing, being able to be in a place of discernment and neutrality so that you can see past people's misjudgments and their savage energy, and you can continue to look at their more embodied person or be able to. So I am really, really good at being able to see people and everything that they've wanted in their life and who they really are, like who their essence truly is. And I reconnect people to that. That's what I do. That's what I help people do. And I just give them that extra little charge. The modules help them keep on going. And then there's this whole new inner creative and new world. So when you have this, you have the answers there, CJ. It's
Yeah.
not one thing. You just go, oh, when you get into that clarity and everything, you know where you got it from. And you're like, that victim injury, you just, one thing for your, see where you're a victim in all your conversations and what you do. And I'm not just saying, oh, it's your fault and I'm blaming you. I'm saying everything. I'm saying in your relationships, I'm saying at work, I'm saying, where are you doing victim consciousness? Where are you self-righteous, where you're having to build yourself to look better because you're not doing that for yourself?
Mhm.
Or that you're a victim because you're not being seen or you're not being heard or understood the way that you need to. Well, maybe you should do it for yourself. When you start doing this for yourself, guess what happens? All that stuff goes away. We don't have to work on everything that's already existed in our life. We just have to go within. And we have to cultivate that. And what I said is right around 10%. And what happens is when you transmute these 5 things, you get more confidence. You get a stable and fearless commitment to create from your own authority and authenticity, which means minus false beliefs, like you just said.
Yeah.
Yes, you embody a synergy of wholeness, and your general wellness increases in all areas of your life. Because when you're intuitive, that muscle that you just, so if you're like a total meathead, I'm sorry, I was a meathead. I used to do auction, I used to lift weights, and I was big, and I can say it, I earned my, and if your thing is like, oh my God, I just want more muscle, get spiritual. You'll have to do a lot less work. And guess what? You'll have time to have more sex. You'll have more time to go out with your friends. You'll have more time to have synchronicities, because life's going to flow for you, because you just built up so much muscle, and you're so spiritual that you can even go out in your array of food, because you can actually activate food and water, because you're emitting your own frequency. People think this is a fantasy. It's not, CJ. You can activate what you have in front of you when you're in this frequency. I've done it. I've had people eat McDonald's, and I've inspired their food. And you know how sometimes you give it like pizza, or it gives you that, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, I feel great. I took a poo. I was going to say the other one, like right away. I didn't have to wait 24 hours. Oh my goodness. Okay, so, and then I'm going to just leave off with these 2, or we'll go. So positive momentum picks up in your life, so you can move around obstacles more effortlessly with yourself and with others. And you're grateful for life and the contrast and the negative experiences, because you understand that these negative experiences are just a bouncing part, or they're a bouncing off point for exploration, expansion, unlimited possibilities, solution, and it actually enhances your life experiences, these contrasting things. It's when we get stuck in that savage negative thinking and not being able to master emotions and control those different things that our life gets really bad really quick, right?
Yeah.
But exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, honestly, that's a great way to end it. I mean, damn, that was like the fastest. I'm like, oh man, we ran out of time way too quick. But no, yeah, I mean, it's about the alignment, I guess. And that's the one thing that the older I get, I'm just starting to realize that more and more, as you mature, you're kind of like, okay, I can't rely on brute strength anymore for everything, and you take a step back and you start to learn more about your emotions, more about beliefs, more about limiting beliefs, and more about how the spiritual side of thing kind of plays into it. And almost going within, because I did start meditating around 2020, where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like take it in. And I just noticed that it seemed as though certain things just, I wouldn't say unravel. It's almost like certain things just dissipated, certain obstacles, certain mental, blockages and stuff. And I find that like all the things that you're talking about, just kind of like you banged everything right on the head. You're just like, yes, yes. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool. It makes perfect sense. But if you could tell us more about your website, more about your links, all that good stuff before you go, Aundrea.
Oh, thank you. I think I did through the whole thing, but you guys go check it out. This is for people that don't even like to meditate. So what happens is I'm going to give 2 things right off. I'm going to actually give 3 really quickly. So the first thing is I'm going to give people a tool right now. How in the heck do you love yourself? How do you love yourself unconditionally, day by day? I challenge people here for 6 weeks, if they are in a dilemma and they don't know what to do, to ask what a person would do that loves themselves or have unconditional love for in this situation. What would they do? Talk about facing some shadows and doing some work. All right. 6 weeks of being able to do it. Some of my clients do it for a whole year. Their life is never the same, even just with that one thing. If they don't know, or even when an argument's ready to do a start or whatever, taking a deep breath and saying, what would a person do, the unconditional love or love have for themselves? How do I give myself more love in this moment? Just that, because most people don't do that. Just that one thing. Okay. And then vitalityunleashed.live has modules that you don't even have to do any, you just sit back and listen. It's energetically and vitally charged. These modules, this doesn't even just come, it doesn't come from just me. It's the power behind everything that I've done, but it's a universal wisdom and power. And I hope people can really feel that even on this podcast.
But what it does is it clears those blocks enough, and it clears those 5 things. And there's other things that we go into week after week. You can buy the modules if it just resonates and you don't want to get that into it, but just go check it out. But you don't have to sit and meditate. You can put them on before you go to bed, or, when you're getting up in the morning and go, whoa, that was cool, or whoa, that is, and just take some moments, and these things start clearing. And if you have a hard time, CJ, or any of your viewers out there, when they're having a hard time just meditating or whatever, talk to yourself. Put on your recorder and talk to yourself. Take yourself through an inner story. Take yourself through an inner story. I'm having a hard time right now meditating. This is pretty funny. I feel this in my mind. I feel it in my heart. Oh my God, I feel like such a nerd. Like whatever that it is, take yourself and then listen to it later and then expand upon it. It's very humbling, and it's very revealing. But it is a sense of meditation, because you're looking for the answers within.
Yeah. Wow, that is
Love
super deep. Yes, that is super deep. I love it. I'm gonna have to apply that. I mean, I love all of this. I absolutely love all of it. I mean, honestly, Aundrea, I think I'm gonna have to have you. I'm gonna have to have you on again, because there's so much more that we could touch on. I mean, yeah, so much more. But I truly enjoyed this conversation. I really hope that our listeners do too. And again, I'm gonna have all the links in the description, so you guys can definitely check it out. And again, by just listening to this podcast, you can do some of that. I know you guys can apply some of it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And until the next episode.